Hey, this is Terrence and Emma with Living a Better Story. Today we want to talk to you from the topic, the exception to the rule.
We were driving to the airport recently and Emma was looking at the time, realizing that we are cutting it really close to making check-in. So I suggested maybe I drop her and the kids to check in and they check us all in while I drop off the hire car and I'll meet them after. Now, Emma then told me, and she's tried that before and it wouldn't work because at check-in I need to be here or they just send us all away. So not to have my great idea dismissed, I suggested that why don't we swap it then? How about you drop us to check in and we'll do what we need to do and I'll negotiate with the counter lady because I have a way of talking my way into things. And she said, babe, I know there are rules and there are rules, it doesn't work. And you know, she was right, there most certainly are rules and they're healthy to keep our airports and our families safe and move along in a nice healthy way. But every now and then we do need someone, just like me, who will actually knows that the rules but knows that there are exceptions to the rule. Now imagine if no one thought there should be an exception to the rule of gravity, then we would never have discovered the law of lift or the law of aerodynamics. Further to the point, I was actually recently listening to a message by my friend Bishop Dale Bronner, and he referred to a couple of differences between the now generation and the new generation. Now, he was saying that the new generation are learning all the rules, but it's the previous generation, his generation, that knows the exceptions to the rules. What was he saying? He was saying that knowing the rules keeps us inside the box, which is safe, but it's those that live outside of the box that are actually going to step up and step out and take ground into new territory. Now, there's always been exceptions to the rules. In grammar, it's the I before the E except after.
See?
Just checking you were listening in class. And I love that when it comes to dealing with people, Jesus was actually okay with allowing exceptions to the rule. In Mark 3, verses 1 to 6, I love how Jesus challenges our rules and our laws. In verse 4, he says that Jesus turned to the critics and he asks, does the law permit good deeds on the Sabbath, or is it a day for doing evil? Is it a day to save life or destroy it? But they wouldn't answer him. I mean, how could they answer him when there had to be an exception for the rule of resting on the Sabbath, especially when it meant healing somebody? I love this because it's so easy to get stuck in a system that instead of the system serving us, we end up serving that system. You know, systems should always serve loving people and not the other way around. You know, if we could measure more grace to people, we'd break out and become the exception to the rule. If we could forgive those unforgivable, then we become the exception to the rule.
You know, when we believe God and take him at his word when he says, Luke 1:37, nothing is impossible with God, we become the history makers that know the exception to the rule. You know, Luke 18:27, Jesus replies, what is impossible for people is possible with God. I think sometimes we forget that although we are here on earth, we have access to another heavenly realm, which says yes when the world says no, which says we can when others say we can't. When earth says it's impossible, heaven says nothing is impossible with God.
Come on, preach it.
Remember, there are rules that are necessary, but there is always the exception to the rule. You know, have you created a rule in your life that is not necessarily from God, but from yourself or from someone else? Perhaps even from some negative words someone spoke over you at one point in your life, or perhaps from a dysfunctional pattern you've grown up in and now you're subconsciously creating a rule in your life that you live by, but really you're actually just repeating the dysfunction from the environment of your upbringing. What about when it comes to blessing someone in your world? What rules have you created around that are possibly limiting you and perhaps not really from God? You know, as we live with the possibility that things could be done better, with the fact that there are godly exceptions to the rule, then we become the catalyst of positive change and positive advancement. We can live a better story as we allow Jesus to be the author of that story. Praying this leads you to take some limits off your life and ask the question, is there a God-inspired exception to this rule? Then you can truly begin a new chapter of your story, a better story, his story.